There are certain mistakes that are commonly made in the English Home Language exam, as well as the formal assessments, and we need to look and see how can we guide our learners to make sure that they answer the questions correctly, as well as improve their English results. Now, the first common mistake is that the learners have a poor understanding of the language context. And learners struggle in 3 areas here. The first is comprehension. When asked to justify a response, learners give weak responses. They also do not have an understanding of the question and lift chunks of text for their answers. Learners also don't take the mark allocation into consideration. When summarizing, learners struggle to marry relevant facts into coherent paragraphs. They also don't write in their own words and take sentences directly out of the text. They struggle to express themselves clearly when they're using their own words, and they don't identify the main idea or topic in the sentences. The other area is textual editing. Learners just simply don't have a firm grasp of the technical language concepts. They're lacking in basic grammar skills, and they don't interpret or respond correctly to graphs. Often learners write in capital letters with no full stop between the sentences. Now, how do we help the learners? The first is we've got to help the learners to read the question. We've got to demonstrate to them how to do this, such as underlining keywords and always looking at the mark allocation. Encourage the learners to always give a reason for their response and provide them with many opportunities to do so in class, so they get into the habit of this. Emphasize the skills necessary to do an effective summary and provide the learners with many opportunities to practice these skills and acquire them. Learners also need to be taught the rules of grammar and, more importantly, to be explained and given practice in how they are applied. More time needs to be spent on language and comprehension skills, and most importantly, we need to show learners what the key words mean. So, for example, what does evaluate mean? What does identify? What does outline mean? So the learners are able to overcome these issues. The next common mistake is with regards to literature questions. There's a poor response to literature questions in many of the papers. The reason for this is learners don't familiarize themselves with the structure of the poem, and they don't engage with the text on a deeper level. They also don't focus on what is important, and they focus too much on the content and less on reading between the lines on an abstract level. Learners should be encouraged to familiarize themselves with the different poetic devices, and learners don't know how to use these poetic devices to help justify their responses. Learners give weak and inadequate responses to questions, as they don't know how to analyze the questions properly. They don't respond from the writer's point of view, but rather use their personalized answers. And very seldom are they able to actually identify the mood of the poem. Now, how can we guide the learners? What can we do to help them? We need to encourage the learners to connect with the text to create an understanding and not just learn guided responses. We need to reinforce the different poetic devices and how they are applied. Encourage the learners to follow these steps when answering the questions that require justification. Get them to state their view, expand on their view, and then reinforce their view with clear evidence from the text. Provide learners with as many opportunities as possible to practice this answering process. Help the learners to take a question and break it down into smaller words so that they actually understand the different stages of responses. And make sure we explain the importance of mark allocations as an aid when answering a question. This should give them a guideline on how much detail to answer in. Remind the learners to stay away from giving personal reflections unless the question actually asks for it. And assist the learners to become familiar with the characters, the plot, the theme, style, and encourage them to read with insight. And constantly remind learners that they mustn't use slang or colloquial language, only standard English. And the third common mistake is poor writing skills. Now, this is often inherited from previous grades. Learners aren't able and don't read the question properly. They also begin writing before planning the outline of their essay. They don't write on the topic or often don't address the actual question. It's so important that our learners know and understand the different styles of essays, and particularly things like knowing how to set up a letter and understanding the difference in tone between formal and informal writing, as well as how to use formal and informal writing. And most importantly, our learners often don't have well-developed grammar skills, resulting in poor expression. Now, how do we help the learners? Well, the first is emphasize the importance of planning to avoid repetition. Also, emphasize the importance of planning to answer the actual question correctly. Demonstrate to learners how structure is so important and how to structure an effective answer. The layout of letters is very important, and learners must be familiar with this. Practice this as much as you can in class. Provide learners with as many opportunities to fine-tune their writing skills. And most importantly, ensure that the learners know the different styles of essays and what is expected from them in each of these. After watching this video, have a look at the PDFs that you're able to download, and you'll notice there's some guidelines for you as a teacher on how to assist the learners. These include a list of the types of essays and the essay styles, as well as helping learners to understand poetry. What can you give to the learners to ensure that they have a full understanding of the analysis of a poem, as well as guidelines on how to prepare the learners for written work. These 3 common mistakes that we've gone through, if you work on these in class and you follow these guidelines, your learners' marks will improve and their confidence in the English language will also improve.